mine, someone I've known since grade school, middle school, and high school. David Carranza, a fellow basketball enthusiast. David, how are you?
Good, man. Glad to be here. Yeah, I'm excited.
So, what do you think about this NBA free agency that's about to open up at midnight tonight? Have you been following any of the news?
Yeah, I mean, it's summer LeBron again. Whatever he does, I think the chips are gonna fall from there, especially with Kawhi and possibly PG.
So let's talk about LeBron then. The latest news about LeBron is that he landed north of LA a couple hours ago in his private jet.
Right.
The big news is that it seems like he wants to sign with LA, and if he doesn't
Right.
sign with LA, Cleveland is probably going to be the next best option for him. In general, what do you think about his free agency, him being a free agent again? Do you think it's if he leaves Cleveland, is it going to spurn the fans or hurt them like it did last time? Because for me, this doesn't seem as emotionally invested as it did before.
Yeah. I think it's good for the league. Whatever he does, I think if he stays in Cleveland, he's a hometown hero. He does the right thing, quote unquote. If he goes to LA, makes another super team, that's good for the league as well. And I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of his world right now, I would say.
So what I find interesting is that I think the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers has said that is his name, was it David Griffin?
Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert.
Why did I say Griffin?
He was
it?
the old GM.
Oh, there we go. Dan Gilbert
They
said
fired
that
him.
if LeBron leaves, he'll get his team back.
Right. Yeah.
And the other news coming out is saying that LeBron hasn't been really communicating with the team at all about who to draft, who to trade for.
Right.
So
right.
I'm good with him leaving the team. I'm not really a fan of him not communicating. I just don't think that is effective principles or effective communication.
Professionalism.
It's not very professional, but
Right.
he may have reasons for it. But what I want to hone in on is the fact that the reports that he reached out to Kevin Durant about playing in LA, I
Right.
find that kind of weak, man. I mean, number one,
Yeah.
you reached out to him and he probably said no,
Right.
right?
He's got a sweet deal over in Oakland.
And the second thing is you're not even part of the Lakers yet, and you're trying to bring
Right.
people there, and you don't even play for the team.
Yeah.
And my reference is always MJ. I could never imagine
Right.
MJ saying, number one, if he left the team,
Right.
I wouldn't imagine him saying, all right, let me call up Reggie, let me call up Clyde, or let me call up Charles,
Ewing. Yeah.
and let me see who's willing to join me in another place. I could see MJ saying, like, look, I'm going to LA. If you want to join me, join me. If
Right.
not, so be it.
Yeah. I'll do it myself.
So
Yeah.
then after KD apparently said no, they said Kawhi reached out to LeBron saying that he was interested in playing with LeBron and he would take the bulk of the defensive assignments. Again, I have no problems with...
Wait, Kawhi said he would take the.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
he would guard the best player
Nice.
on the opposing
Yeah.
team. I have no problem
Yeah.
with people wanting to team up because that's the generation and the era that we live in.
Right. Right.
And to dethrone
Yeah.
someone like the Warriors,
Yeah.
you're going to need a super team, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that the King reached out to KD and KD said no, and then Kawhi probably felt salty and said, "Hey man, I'll play with you." I don't know, man. I just don't respect the way it kind of goes down. And
Yeah, but like you said, it's a part of the times. This generation, right? I would never see Magic, Bird, or MJ do any of that. They wanted to beat the best, not join up with them. And as far as I would say KD, I think he asked him because he knows like he wanted to win now, and he KD seems like a easy target to ask, like, hey, come join me. You've done it before. I've done it. I mean, like, come join me or whatever. I just feel like he would possibly do it.
No. I think that, again, I don't find it weak, or I'm not criticizing the generation because they want to team up. I'm cool with that because that's
Right.
we've seen that's what works, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're the best team in the galaxy, the San Antonio Spurs, and you can make the system work. That's a different story. You can listen to my
Right.
first podcast for that.
Yeah.
The way he did it, and then the fact that you kind of got rejected,
Uh-huh.
it didn't seem like you really approached it the right way. Because I remember when the Warriors were wooing KD,
Uh-huh.
the report said they were like wooing him all year. So like
Really?
after games, during games,
Wow.
passing comments and all that. So I don't know if LeBron did it the best way, and
What, like wait till last second?
exactly. So that's
Okay,
one
okay.
thing. You wait to the last second, and you're sending feelers.
Right.
That Kawhi is kind of wanting to play for LA, but it didn't seem that you preemptively reached out to him. So that kind of, raises
Well,
my eyebrow.
I think the whole Kawhi thing just presented itself because of how it played out. I don't, you know what I mean? Like no one knew Kawhi was gonna jump ship.
Oh, I think
You
I mean
know,
if you follow the Spurs, you know the report that came out today was that the reason Kawhi wants to leave, the final straw
Right.
was Tony Parker talking about his injury compared to Kawhi's injury. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, but
So,
that sounds
about a month and a half ago, Tony
Wow.
Parker said that I tore my quad and I was back in 6 months, and my injury, something like that. My injury was 100 times worse than
Wow.
Kawhi's.
Ouch.
Issue that I have is, come on, bro. Like, you're making
Your teammate, yeah.
yeah, you're making max money. You got a problem with one of your teammates. Go handle your business. Go talk to him about it. Get the
Right.
coach involved. And to say that was the last straw. Now I follow the Spurs quite regularly.
Right, yeah, I know.
There were reports even way before this happened, saying that the Spurs were starting to believe that Kawhi's agents and uncles were orchestrating a move for him to go to LA because it's a bigger market, etc. So for them to use this as an excuse, I find to be kind of petty. I don't find it to be legit, and I know I know that even Stephen A. Smith said, "Look, man, there's nothing wrong with wanting to play in a big market. There's nothing wrong with wanting to play in LA. Just be a man and say it."
Wow.
And I agree with that.
Okay.
So it's like, all right, don't use the system, don't use the players, don't use
Yeah.
a fractured relationship. You know, the whole thing was the Spurs didn't handle his injury right. Are we here? Are we gonna believe that the Spurs intentionally mismanaged their star player, someone who they wanted to offer a
Right.
super max salary to? No. If they made a legitimate mistake, the mistake was made. You had the whole year basically to rehab. Stop crying about it. Now, if you want to go to LA and play, just go. Or you know, do what you're doing. But I find, look, with LeBron, it's clear that he's going to leave, and I'm cool with that. I'm actually kind of excited to see where he's going to go. I wish he would go to the Spurs. Yeah, I wish he would go to the Spurs. You know, he says he respects Pop a lot, but a lot of his insiders, even Dwayne Wade, said this is more of a family decision than it is about a basketball decision.
He's got the second house.
Yeah, he's got a couple houses in LA, and I could also see that it probably has to do with his businesses, his entrepreneurship. But with Kawhi,
After basketball.
Exactly. And he's at the tail end of his career. He's got about 4 or 5 years left.
Yeah.
But with Kawhi, I really can't respect it, man. I really can't respect the way he's going about this.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit. The big rumor now is the Lakers have put together a pretty good package centered around Kuzma, Ingram, Hart, and maybe a pick.
Picks. Yeah.
And they were saying the Spurs were offered Lonzo, but the Spurs want nothing to do with Lonzo. And then a report just came out like a couple hours ago that Lonzo's camp is saying he hurt his knee.
Yeah, he tore his meniscus.
So the guy that I was listening to was saying that, did he really tear his meniscus, or is this something to just kind of deter a trade away from the Spurs?
No, I heard. I heard he tore it. I don't know which one, but I read that yesterday that he did that. Or I don't know when, but he got the surgery and stuff.
So let's look at the scenario then. The Spurs kind of have that trade maybe possibly available.
Yeah.
They've been talking to Philly. They've been talking to Boston. Boston does not want to trade Jaylen Brown or Tatum.
Right.
Some people were saying, look, maybe they would trade Kyrie because Kyrie's on a 1-year deal right now as well.
Yeah.
I don't think the Spurs would go for that unless Kyrie would sign an extension.
Right.
And I think the reason Boston is not giving up their best assets is because Kawhi hasn't signed an extension.
Yeah.
But some were saying like Marquise Morris, Marcus Smart, maybe some picks. With Philly, I forgot the name, Covington.
Yeah, Covington or whatever.
And then there was one of the foreign players, international players.
I don't know his
Philly
name.
does not. Yeah, Philly
Starts
does not
with an
have
S.
as much as LA or as Boston. But what do you think about that scenario right now? Who has the upper hand? What do you think is the best case scenario? Do the Spurs hold on to him until the trade deadline? Do they try to salvage the relationship? Or do they just deal with the Lakers because they're going to have to deal with them eventually?
I think they've been trying to salvage the relationship. But I think ultimately Kawhi wants to go to Southern California and play for the Lakers. I think, like you said earlier, that the Celtics were interested, but they're not going to make a move. Danny Ainge isn't going to make a move without Kawhi guaranteeing he's going to stay there for long term. He doesn't want a rental. He doesn't want to give up good pieces for a rental.
Yeah.
As far as the Sixers, I haven't heard really anything about that. I think it would probably be Kawhi would be actually a better fit for the Sixers than LeBron because he's less of a ball handler, and Ben Simmons would be the primary ball handler. And I don't know. I just think
he can catch and shoot. He's more of a KD, more like KD than a LeBron.
Right.
In that way, yeah.
So I think ultimately LA is the spot for Kawhi. It's going to be LA and LeBron is what I think.
The reason I'm kind of
excited.
I'm excited too, but
I'm not a Lakers fan either.
I mean, it'd be
get it
nice to
twisted.
see them together, and we'll
Right.
jump to Paul George in a 2nd.
Mhm.
But the reason I'm kind of torn about this is a few reasons. One, you're on a 1-year deal, Kawhi
Mhm.
Leonard.
Right.
If you had at least a couple years left,
Right.
more people would be willing to work with the Spurs.
Yep.
The Spurs could even possibly put a package together for Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Obviously, you probably wouldn't go after DeMarcus Cousins because he's coming off the torn ACL.
Yeah.
But you could go after Tatum or Jaylen Brown or some of
Right.
those young dudes. But because you're on a 1-year deal and you're not willing or you haven't expressed a willingness to sign an extension. So I do feel kind of, as a Spurs purist, I do feel kind of bad for the Spurs. But at the same time,
But they're no dummies either. They want a good deal too. They want something to work with in the future.
you're talking about the Spurs or
Yeah, the Spurs. They've been, they're cornerstone of the NBA.
I think
for a
the Spurs
while,
are
so-
actually playing poker pretty well right
right,
now.
right, exactly. Yeah,
And I think they are going to make a deal with the Lakers.
yeah,
And the Lakers are desperate because, as a lot of people are reporting, I think LeBron wants to see other talent in LA.
Do you
Even-
think right? Do you think he goes first, or do you
No.
think
He could.
the trade will go down first?
Yeah, he could. But I think LeBron has probably been waiting for a Paul George or a Kawhi Leonard or a KD, as we know, right?
yeah,
But I think the Spurs are if everything goes well and the
Mhm.
Lakers get more desperate, and the Spurs can play to their desperation, you can basically ransack
yeah,
their young talent and a
Yeah.
couple picks.
right.
And then if you're the
That's
Spurs,
what I think they're gonna do.
you kind of go into rebuild mode, but at the same
Kinda,
time,
but you still have LaMarcus
you
Aldridge.
still have LaMarcus, you still have DeJounte
and
Murray,
good
you
young
still have Danny
players.
Green, you
Yeah.
still got Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker as veteran
Yeah.
leaders off the
And
bench.
if you get Kyle Kuzma, Hart,
exactly,
you
Exactly.
got a decent squad.
You got a
That's
decent
playoff
squad.
team for sure.
definitely a playoff team. I mean, look, they didn't have Kawhi Leonard last year,
Right. Yeah.
and they were a game and a half away from being like third
Yeah.
place in the West.
definitely.
So yeah, there's no doubt about the Spurs system.
Yeah.
But anyway, so with Kawhi, I'm kind of torn.
yeah, I know.
The Spurs have definitely cut ties with him. That's what the reports are. So he's
Okay.
one way or the other, he's probably gone, and I could see that. But I basically want the Spurs to get a king's ransom in return.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
As-
they
and
are.
that- that's just me as a Spurs purist.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, if you're the Celtics or the Sixers, you're not going to give up your best assets for a 1-year player, right?
Right.
Let's move on to Paul George, man. It looks like he's going to re-sign with the Thunder. There's even a report saying that his barber is saying that he's re-signing with the Thunder. What do you think about that move?
I think it's good. I mean, I feel like. Well, so the Clippers are out of this. Like, he's a Lakers fan, right?
Yeah.
He's not.
Yep.
Okay, so
He's expressed interest in signing with the Lakers
Lakers.
specifically.
right. I mean, I think it's good for the Thunder. They're a small market team. They kind of need him. And if he were to leave, I think they would have traded Russell Westbrook at the deadline and just full rebuild. Because
I would like to
it's
see
a
that.
small. Yeah, would you?
I mean,
For why? Why?
Well, I'll tell you why. I like Russell Westbrook.
I love him.
I think he's a warrior. I
Yeah.
think he's an explosive player. But I think because of
Whoa,
his
Warrior! Whoa, whoa, whoa!
I think because of his style of play, and
Right.
I want you to just bear with me. He's not going to be a winner.
Right.
And
Yeah, I agree.
His shot selection isn't the best.
Temperament.
The way he defers, he doesn't really defer well.
Mhm.
You can see sometimes he'll drive and you'll have 2 or 3 Thunder open.
Yeah.
He won't kick the ball out to them.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not a maestro with the ball. It's
Right.
more like he depends on his athleticism to get
Hard and strong.
others
little-
open.
Right.
So because of that, I feel like even if with Paul George resigning,
Mm-hmm.
I really don't see what the value or the benefit is, and I'll tell you why. Because last year there was a lot of anticipation, a lot of
Right.
expectations.
Yeah.
Carmelo Anthony was a shell of himself.
One leg.
He opted into his like $25 or $28 million dollar
Smart
for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible for the Thunder.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible for the Thunder.
Yeah, he's on the he's on the tail end.
Yeah, I mean,
One,
look,
maybe two, if that.
Look,
years.
he's an ISO player, right? And the
Yeah.
league the league changed.
He's for sure not a winner.
Yeah, the
I
league,
never liked Carmelo Anthony,
The-
especially after he punched Jared. Whatever.
the what?
Jared Jeffries when he punched.
Oh
Sucker
yeah,
punched. That was
and then he walked away like a.
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
god,
oh, yeah.
so
Yeah, you can't
chump.
You can't throw a fist and then walk away, right?
Yeah, it's
So
sorry.
no, so it's all good, man. But with Paul George, I'm kind of surprised that he would stay in that situation. He may do it for the money. If
Right?
He,
Is that what it is? Because he gets more
Yeah.
money for sticking
so
with the team.
Even a guy like, for example, Kevin Durant, right? Kevin Durant is probably going to sign a 1-year deal right now, a 1-in-1. So it's
Right.
a 1-year deal with a 1-year player option.
Okay.
And the reason you do that is once that 1 year is done, you get to sign for a supermax, which is what Kawhi.
Okay, yeah,
and
you're right.
that's what Kawhi has offered to him right now. So the difference is like you're talking about $40 to $50 million. So if you're
Right,
looking to
yeah.
stay somewhere long term, absolutely doing that 1-and-1 or a short term
Right.
deal and then signing for a supermax, it makes sense. But I'm talking about from a purely basketball decision making leadership standpoint in terms of basketball purists. I don't know why he would stay with the Thunder. They
Yeah.
don't seem like the coach. Billy Donovan, is it still Billy Donovan?
Yeah.
Again, we talked about some of Russell Westbrook's weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
Paul George in Indiana, he was that dude.
Yeah.
He was a really good
He
player.
also had a good team.
He had a
defensive
good team, but I'm saying he was in a great situation.
Right.
So if LeBron is willing to come to LA and he's waiting for you, that seems to be the perfect storm.
Right.
You have the opportunity to play with someone you've always admired and to play in the city that you always wanted to be in, right?
Yeah.
So in those three cases, LeBron, Kawhi, and Paul George, I'm not sure what's going to happen or what's going on. But that's what I think about PG. Any final thoughts about the PG situation before we move on to the next topic?
PG-13. I mean, yeah, like you touched everything. I agree with. I don't know why.
He plays
why
like
would he
he's
go?
PG-13, my friend.
Yeah. I don't know why he would stay there. It's nice. It's comfortable, I guess, for him. He'd still get a lot of touches with Russ. As far as Carmelo, I don't know. I mean, he should be on the bench, but I don't know. He makes that much money, so they got to put him out there. That's on him. I mean,
Okay.
I know he wants to come to LA, but I don't know.
Good stuff.
We'll see.
The other report is, did you see the Clippers traded away Austin Rivers?
No, I did not.
They traded Austin Rivers away. And the reason that's a big deal is because it seemed like one reason former Clipper players had issues with the organization and the coach, Chris Paul, it finally came out, I think, last year and said it had to do with Austin and the coach, his dad.
His dad, right.
Glenn Davis has a viral video online where he's basically asking Austin Rivers to come and fight him,
Wow.
because Austin Rivers was talking a lot of garbage about Big Baby.
Right.
So
He talks good trash.
he got traded, and that led a lot to believe that maybe even Doc is on his way out.
Wow.
And then I believe they traded for Marcin Gortat. So the Clippers now have Gortat. I forgot who they traded away. But the big news coming out now is that the Mavericks are interested in DeAndre Jordan.
Okay. Right.
I'm not sure why that's news.
Right.
So what do you think about that?
I think he is an old school center who grabs a lot of rebounds, rim defender.
I think that's a compliment, man. I think you are
right. I think
you're
that's
complimenting him very.
That's it. I mean, that's not what the NBA is now. It's run and gun, small ball kind of big men who could shoot.
What is the fascination with confusing?
And didn't they have a bad relationship the first time?
So what happened?
And then Mark Cuban is he's very.
So what the reports? I remember what happened last time. They said that he agreed to sign a contract with the Mavericks.
Yeah. And then
And what happened was the Clippers team, along with Doc, were basically like holding him hostage, not letting him leave the house.
Wow.
I was like, come on, man.
Petty.
Not only petty, but like, what kind of man are you where you can't
decide for yourself?
decide, and you have to be held. Like, people have to lock the doors and say, look, bro, like, all right, you decided you're gonna stay with the Clippers, so we're gonna lock the doors. We're gonna take your phones away.
You're our teammate.
Yeah. So I see why the Mavericks would want to make this decision, but what is our fondness with confusing athleticism for being good at basketball? And when I say good, I'm talking about what Tim Duncan was, what Charles Barkley was, what Karl Malone was. And the reason I bring up those three guys, so Tim Duncan, not the most athletic, super fundamental. Charles Barkley, 6'3", 6'4", but arguably one of the greatest power forwards ever because he was a beast, right? He grabbed rebounds. He put in buckets. He was intense. He was smart. Karl Malone, 6'8", 6'9", a physical specimen. Very smart player.
Yeah.
Excuse me. DeAndre's a 7-footer.
Right.
Super athletic. Can jump out the gym, but that hasn't transferred into learning the X's and O's.
Yeah, can't shoot free throws.
He can't shoot free throws. He doesn't really have any low post moves.
Right, yeah.
Dwight Howard is another guy who never really had low post moves, but
yeah.
Dwight Howard puts this guy to shame, in my opinion, in his prime.
Yeah, he went to the finals.
He went to the finals. He carried that team on his back. But DeAndre Jordan is not a max player to me. And it's so unfortunate because when you have such athleticism and you're so athletic and you're gifted, but you don't have a couple low post moves, and the only thing you can do is jump out the gym. Even when people talk about his defense, I find his defense to be overrated because just because you can jump very high. I'm a basketball purist, man.
Yeah.
And even a 37 and 38-year-old Tim Duncan, you got to watch the clips. You got to watch the highlights, my friend.
Yeah,
Tim Duncan would pivot on him,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Tim Duncan would
Up and
outsmart
under.
him. Up and unders. You know, you're using your brain over your athleticism. And the
And he
reason
has no jump shot, like, at all.
he just has no semblance of
Tim
a jump
Duncan had a
shot.
mid-range. You
So
know, Karl Malone. These
let's
guys
go back.
could shoot.
Let's go back to the first question. Why is this news?
That's a good question, man. I have no idea. I really don't. Yeah, why? Are they just trying to spend money to spend money? I don't.
I think, look, man, the Mavericks.
Because they have it.
I don't think they made. They
Does
did
he
not-
make them that much better? Does he make them a playoff team?
He's a name.
that
He's
why?
a jumper. You might sell some more jerseys. Some kids will probably love to see him there because he can dunk the ball.
Is that
Um,
someone for Luka Doncic to
Yeah, it
throw
could
the
be.
ball to?
I mean, you know, and Dirk in his last year or so that he's going to be in the league,
Right.
he probably can cover Dirk's lapses on defense.
Right. Yeah.
But
okay.
I'm not sure why it's news. But
Neither do I. I
in
don't know.
closing, your expectations for free agency, your expectations for the upcoming year. Obviously, we haven't seen where the pieces are going to fall.
Right.
Well, what is the state of basketball as we enter free agency in the next couple hours?
I think it's just it's LeBron. You know, whatever he does, it has a rippling effect to the league, and rightfully so because he's the best player. I hate to admit it.
So it's still LeBron's world.
I think so. Yeah.
I
I would
don't-
say.
It doesn't bother me to admit it that he's the best anymore, or arguably the best.
Right.
For
For right now. Right.
Yeah,
You know,
he's a
this-
good guy. I think he's a really good guy.
Yeah, I do too.
I think as native Chicagoans, I think the issue we have is watching the GOAT, growing
Beat
up
us.
watching the GOAT.
Now we're Cleveland. You know. When
Yeah.
He's just.
And not only that, look, man, MJ was decisive. MJ was cutthroat. MJ
Yeah.
wanted the ball in the last few seconds. LeBron, like, as many say, he's more magic than he is MJ.
Mm-hmm.
He's a maestro with the ball. He can
Yeah.
create plays. He can give you the ball, good ball movement. But no, man, I think LeBron joining any team instantly almost makes them a
Yeah.
championship contender. We saw what he did with this Cavs team, which is decent.
Right.
You know,
That's
outside
a
of
compliment.
outside of Kevin Love, who I think is great.
Yeah.
And you know, Kevin Love before he joined the Cavaliers was a great player on the Timberwolves,
Oh, yeah.
2020 type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we saw what he did with this Cavs. I mean, they almost won the first 2 games of the finals, and if they had
Right.
won those games,
Yeah.
you never know what could have happened, right? And that would have been a great
Could have been a
story.
7-game series.
And that would have. This could be a title of another podcast, but I really think the Warriors are very overrated.
Ooh.
I think they're very overrated. I mean,
Okay.
look at the
Yeah.
talent that they have on their team.
Right.
You know, and to struggle and to even lose a game. You lost a game against the Spurs.
Uh-huh.
You lost 1 game against the Spurs
Right.
without Kawhi Leonard, against 40-year-old Manu Ginobili, against 36-year-old Tony Parker.
Yeah. Well, they've been known to turn it off. You know.
Well, yeah, but you can't. You know, this is what separates
Notorious for
good
that.
teams or very good teams from great teams, right?
Right.
And you got Kevin Durant, you got Draymond, you got Clay, you got Steph. I mean, you even got a guy like JaVale off the bench
Yeah.
on that team, right?
Mhm.
DeAndre Jordan type of player, right?
Esque. Yeah.
You have Iguodala, you got Sean Livingston, you got Swaggy P. Not saying that those guys are all great. You got
Yeah.
David West. You got all these
Right.
great role players. You don't lose games like that, man. And
Yeah.
then to almost have lost the game against the Cavs,
Game
that
one.
shows you their holes. So, again, topic for another podcast. Guys, the WalaWay. If you liked the podcast, please like and subscribe. Here with my good friend Dave Carranza, who will be on more often to talk about all things basketball. Thank you guys for listening, and let's see what happens in free agency.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.